How's it going, everybody? Mr. Olthan here. Are we live? I hope so. I hope so. Come on, let's go. It's a little bit of a delay here, guys. I'm sorry. It's YouTube. We always blame YouTube over here. And Twitch. Thank you. There we go. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to today's live stream. I'm sorry I'm a bit late. I should have started like 40 minutes ago. But I was busy kind of, editing a Patreon video that I have exclusively uploaded there for now. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I've tried like uploading a lore video for Exodus. If any of you guys are like interested in that, you can head over to my Patreon and become a supporter, and you get access to it. It's like 22 minutes long. It's more like an audio form of a lore video. I've taken some inspiration from the Mass Effect Codex entries, So, if you guys are interested in that, go ahead and check that out. It looks like, let's see if I can switch over to this. We're gonna go into this bit in a moment. It looks like this. Look at that. That's my Patreon. Boom. So there's the first Codex entry is on the Celestials. I'm gonna move on to, I don't know really, I think we're gonna cover Changelings next, and then maybe the Awakened, and then we'll go like from category to category to category. I will be making similar videos here on YouTube, but as I mentioned, like these are more audio form. Like I don't have much footage to show. I can't really edit the video in like a cool way, or I can probably, but it's going to take me some time to do so. So this was pretty quick to do, but if you're interested, I'm just going to put this over here, there we go. Already in the links. Nice. Good shit. How's it going, Ryusk? So should I move from YouTube to Patreon? Nah, you can keep watching on YouTube. It's just going to be extra content there. I'm not moving all my content to Patreon. That would be dumb. What up, Ghostbuster? How you doing? Travis, breaking news, Exodus named better than the new Mass Effect could it possibly be. Named better, huh? Well, that's an interesting take. I think... well, we'll have to see, of course. We don't know what the next Mass Effect is going to be called yet. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about like sci-fi RPGs. We have 3 of them right now that are upcoming, and I know some of you guys are like, Mass Effect. I've lost all hope. That's fine. But still, like, we still have it somewhat to look forward to. We'll have to see if they can pull it off. We do have 2 games that I do think, however, maybe aren't guaranteed, but they're closer to what I would imagine being like a home run, and that's Exodus and the Expanse, right? Those 2 games. As someone who read the book for Exodus, I can in fact confirm it's better than any EA writers. Damn. What a stinky bird. But here's the thing. The author who has written the books, he's like a real sci-fi author. Then we have other people involved as well that was involved with BioWare back in the day, like when they really made their best games. And they're writing for Exodus. So, I mean, we have that to look forward to a lot. N70 and then more Exodus and possibly Expanse this Game Awards. We eating good for sci-fi RPGs. Oh, fuck yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really psyched for both Exodus and the Expanse. Like, these games are looking really, really, really good. Specifically, I think I'm more excited right now for Exodus because I think it's closer to release, right? I've recently finished watching the Expanse. Fucking amazing show. I'm super angry that they aren't continuing the Expanse. I think that sucks ass, because I want to see what happens next. No spoilers here, but there's so much more with the Expanse you can get, and like, I think the game is the next frontier essentially for I guess, for for the Expanse. Like the game is what we're gonna have to, you know, engage with at the end of the day. Let's see here. I just gotta pop on over here. Isn't the writer for Exodus the same one that wrote the Mass Effect games, or at least the trilogy? The first 2 games. I think Drew wrote the first game and the second game, like main plot-wise, I think. Of course, like, I would guess that Casey Hudson and some of the leads, like, they made the synopsis, and then Drew essentially, like, sketched out what the main story was going to be. Gaida 2, welcome, man. On Twitch over there, because I'm also streaming on Twitch. Deep-a-doop-a-doo. I should have set up my chat windows. I am the worst streamer. For real, though. Like, really. There we go. Have you ever played the Expanse Telltale game? I started playing it, but I never got around to finishing it. I just started it off on stream. But I think there was some other games I was trying to focus on at the same time. I think it was Baldur's Gate, honestly. Like, I tried to make a lot of content for Baldur's Gate. Or, well, I was making a lot of content for Baldur's Gate. And so I kind of forgot about it, honestly. And that was before I had actually watched the show to its, I guess, its end. Did you ever get around to playing Rogue Trader? No, not yet. It would probably be a good idea for me to do so. Wouldn't it? But I think we're just gonna jump into something here again, because there was something that I noticed. I noticed that a lot of people talked about the fact that Exodus might not be as violent. Like, I've seen some discussions of people like being concerned about that because it doesn't look super violent. It doesn't like look very gory. There's so far no sexual themes whatsoever. There's nothing like that. And so, but one thing I did notice, and I talked about this the other day as well, it's very apparent when you go to the Epic Store. God, I love this. Okay, look at that. PG-18. I think a lot of people missed that. Extreme violence, strong language. Okay, and then we have like sexual stuff as well. If you go back to the Steam page, it says here as well. So, right, they described it here even. So, mature content. Game may contain content not appropriate for all ages or may not be appropriate for viewing at work, frequent violence or gore, some nudity or sexual content, strong language, general mature content. Nice. Let's go, guys. It's not a game for children. Don't you worry. We're gonna get our adult stuff. Very nice. We have a 4th game in Warframe. Right. Yeah, I know. Warframe. I gotta check it out again because it's been a while. I remember I loved playing Warframe, but I think it's one of those things where, you know, it becomes too much of a grind. So you're just like, okay, you know, I think I've gotten out of it what I wanted. And then you're kind of, you know, done. Drew, did Anderson dirty in the books? Did he? What happened in the book? I don't remember anything. I just have a shitty memory. The success of Battlefield 6 has given me some hope that EA is leaning towards the right track, which means more hope for BioWare. Maybe. The thing is, though, Battlefield 6, right? Battlefield 6 is like, it's very COD adjacent, right? Let's see. And I think that the difference here is that Battlefield 6 is generally a more like an off course, you know, it's going to sell because it's a war game. I love Battlefield, personally speaking. Loved Battlefield 1. God, it was such a good game. But I think the difference here is that this is a guaranteed, like, breakout hit if they can just make the combat and the game, the maps, everything, the weapons, the rotations, everything, and the game modes. Like, if they can all, like, make all of those great, then obviously Battlefield 6 was gonna sell. The problem with a thing like Mass Effect, right, is that it's very niche. It's like, it's very, like, it's a story-based RPG. And as much as we've seen, like, the success with Baldur's Gate 3, we then saw what happened with Veilguard, so it's like, it's not a guarantee that the game is going to do good, because it has to be really, really good and do what people want, especially, like, older fans. Because as far as I know, older fans of Battlefield are being like, yeah, this is a return to form. Like, this is the game we wanted for years now. So on that end, I would say that, yeah, it is, you know, because of the success of Battlefield 6, DICE is probably pretty safe right now. I don't think they're going to get rid of DICE now, because they've proven that they can actually make a really, really, really good game. So yeah. Arvos, how you doing, man? Welcome. Yeah, we're chatting about RPGs here, but for some reason we hopped over to Battlefield 6. This was mostly to just talk about the fact that while I would agree that this success of Battlefield 6 is great, I wouldn't take it as a guarantee that, oh, you know, yeah, you know, EA is going to give BioWare that chance. I'm still unsure about that. That's why I'm still, like, a little bit wobbly on if I want to do way too many theory videos on the channel, because I simply don't know how much more can I invest into Mass Effect before, you know, them shutting it down. I kind of have to know, like, is the game actually going to continue? Otherwise, it's like, what's the point? If Expedition 33 wins Game of the Year, it would probably improve the odds of ME5 becoming a thing. Maybe. Do you mean, like, in case of it being like an RPG? Is that what you mean? Because, yeah, Game of the Year is a big boost. But, you know, I mean, genre-wise, I would say maybe. Yeah, it probably improves it a little bit. Because it's still, again, like that idea of EA wanting to have some form of IP that is like their flagship in a way. You could say that Battlefield is their flagship, but for single-player RPGs, they still want, like, a foot in the door. An RPG with a small studio? Yeah, exactly. Michael has talked about that as well previously. Michael Gamble, the project lead for Mass Effect, that you don't need to have a major team for Mass Effect. It's fine with a smaller one. Excited for N7 Day? Yes, I would say so. But I am, like, it's kind of a balance. It's a little bit worry and a bit excitement, because I so hope that we're going to get something. You know what the worst thing would be? I'm hoping we get, like, a big tease, like a big trailer or something like that. But let me tell you, I am worried. The worst thing that they could do on N7 Day would be to reveal that due to ongoing struggles and due to the situation surrounding with the EA, we will be shutting down production for Mass Effect. Imagine if they pulled that fucking card on N7 Day. Do you have... Oh my god, the reaction would be crazy. Like, people would lose their minds and just, you know, you would hear the wailing of everybody across the world. No! But, you know, that's why even I don't know, you know, even I'm, like, relatively unsure. I do want to be like this positivity peddler and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, BioWare, yes, Mass Effect, let's go. But part of me is like, yeah, if I play it too positively, if I'm too, you know, excited for it, it feels like I'm hyping people up and setting them up for disappointment when there's such a huge risk with Mass Effect right now. That's like, oh my god, you know, how much can I actually hype people up? Well, the Emmy TV series isn't canceled. True, very true, which is very good. Very nice that we haven't lost the TV show yet. Because that shows to me that there is still, like, Mass Effect is still in the plans. It would be better for BioWare to come out with ME5 sooner than later. Preferably, I would say so too. The thing is, what I found interesting, I haven't really looked into this, but I think Kala wrote on Twitter the other day, because I said, like, oh, what if they released Mass Effect on N7 Day 2027? I don't know, like, I was out walking with my dog, right? And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be really cool? You could instantly remember that. It's so memorable, right? N7 Day 2027. It's like, oh, what happens that day? Oh, right, Mass Effect. So, but then she corrected me and she said, the game is not even in production. I was like, all right. Technically, the game is still in pre-production. But then I started thinking, does pre-production mean that, does that automatically mean that they're just still stuck in specifically pre-production and that they're not really getting the production done? Or is it that they're getting rid of the BioWare magic, the whole BioWare magic thing where they go like, the pre-production and then production, and then the game is out. And instead they go like this, where they're like pre-production, and then, slowly go upwards to production. I hope that's what they do, or that they do the hybrid approach, that they have a pre-production, but they go evenly along the way, all the way to release. So that they're technically both in pre-production and production at the same time, I guess you could say. I don't know. I'm getting way too technical about this. But my wish would be for them to be more like, take things one day at a time and work evenly across the board. So they don't just, speed up everything towards the end. My hopium for the N7 Days teaser with Shepard confirmed as a player character. A lot of people are saying that, so, I don't blame you. I keep seeing that, especially from newer fans. Crowdfunding has paid over 750 million for Star Citizen. Surely we could crowdfund BioWare's independence to let the devs cook. Shifters, I agree. We probably could. I mean, if you actually fought for it, we could actually probably crowdfund Mass Effect. I think, it could be realistic if people came together and they really wanted it. The problem isn't so much that we could probably crowdfund Mass Effect. It's we first have to purchase the IP from EA. And I'm lowballing here now that I've thought about it. I've talked about this stuff with some other people as well. Lowballing Mass Effect as a franchise, I would say they're probably not ready to let go of Mass Effect for less than $1 billion. I'm just gonna say it. They're probably and if they're gonna get rid of that, they're probably gonna want to get rid of Dragon Age as well, or even BioWare. So I mean, we're lowballing $1 to $2 billion here, I think. So you would have to get the IP from EA. Not only that, but we also have to consider the fact that EA probably doesn't want to sell Mass Effect because it has that IP. And as we know, EA and other publishers, they love to hoard IPs, like a greedy dragon. They just buy a bunch of shit, then they shut the project down, and then they have this project just laying there. Nobody can do anything with it because they want it. They want to own it because then they have this, whenever it's time again, whenever they can restart the studio and bring the project back, sort of like what they did with the Dead Space remake, right? It's like, oh, now we can take it out again, when it's time and when there's hype. So I don't think they're going to want to get rid of Mass Effect. And if somebody would want to buy it, they would probably have to pay $1 billion or $2 billion. So, yeah, no, they haven't done shit with Mass Effect. That's the crazy thing. They would probably just hoard it, put it on the back burner and just be like, nah, we're just shutting it down. You know, we're gonna make our money back. Just you know, with FIFA, Battlefield, this kind of stuff. But we're gonna own Mass Effect. You know, that is. I just think that's it. Somebody better go beg Moist Critical. The problem is, I don't think Moist Critical, even him, could afford it. I know he's made a lot of money on YouTube, but it's not close to what they would be asking him for. So, yeah, I mean, he could probably make a good dent, you know, if we crowdfunded it, you know, have Charlie be like, okay, I'm gonna, I don't know, I can't replicate his voice, but, you know, have him throw in like a 10 million or something. That would make a dent, but it would still be way too little. You think Emmy is worth 1/4 of what 2012 Star Wars was worth today? It wouldn't surprise me, considering, you know, things like inflation, value of money, yada yada yada, and you know, EA is greedy, and I also think they do realize the potential in Mass Effect, and so they're like, no, we're not going to get rid of it, you know. They're going to push the price as high as they can. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do sell it for like 200 million. That would actually be not bad news, actually. But it would be the right. It would have to be the right studio. I don't know about like Microsoft. I've seen people say, "Oh, but what if Microsoft?" I don't think so, man. Look at what Microsoft has been doing lately. I know. And I don't know, like, I wouldn't even say, you know, maybe Sony, but Sony has also had that kind of shit going on. We also have, well, there aren't that many that I think could buy it, honestly. I want BioWare to say all of the story bits are done, all the main story and side quests. Oh, you mean like on N7 Day, that they would like say, oh yeah, we're done with Mass Effect's this thing or this thing? Yeah, that would be great. Absolutely. I love like an update on the game, like to see, you know, where it is. That would be great. But I'm a little scared that it's going to be a while until we actually learn how far they've gotten. Simply because of the recent news, right? But then again, you know, N7 Day might change my mind. We'll see. Imagine if Larian bought BW. Well, again, Larian made a lot of money, but I don't think it's close enough to what they'd need. That would be great. You know, Larian, I think, is one of the more capable that could essentially become a publisher. But on the other hand, I don't want them to become a publisher. I just want them to self-publicize and work on their own games. And you know, what they technically could do is buy Mass Effect as a franchise, like as an IP. But I don't know, like, it's more like, how realistic is that, you know, as much as people would love that to happen. And then we also have to ask ourselves the questions like, do we want Larian to work on a franchise that they don't necessarily, you know, love? Because I don't know how most of the people and the devs at Larian feel about Mass Effect. I think they'd rather, like Sven Vink, I think these guys would probably just want to work on their own games, you know, create something entirely unique and special, like with Baldur's Gate 3 and the Divinity games. I don't think they're gonna want to, like, you know, shoulder that responsibility of taking up Mass Effect, because then they have that expectation that they need to deliver a better game than the previous games. Andromeda is not too difficult, but like Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, yeah, that's a lot of responsibility, man. I just don't think they would do it. Charlie is a big Mass Effect. Has he said he is? I've never heard Charlie say that he's a fan of Mass Effect, but he would make bigger waves through informing people through his channel. He would, absolutely. Crowdfunding is definitely the way to go. You know, having a lot of people pitch in small amounts. Not necessarily him buying the entire thing, or even like a billionaire doing that. It would be better if like everybody just pitched in. Microsoft acquired Quantum Break and never did anything with it. Rockstar got Max Payne and they only made one game. Yeah, that's the problem that I'm trying to say here, is that a lot of publishers, they just buy IP, then they never do anything with it. They simply want to have the IP, and if the moment ever comes, then they will make a game where they can cash in as much as they can. So I think, but then again, here's the thing: I don't want to doom scroll and be like, oh, problems, because I think the existence of Exodus here and the existence of the Expanse game. Let me pull that up too, so you guys because I know that there are some people that are like, what's Expanse, man? What is that? The Osiris Reborn game, which is looking like this, right? So I think the existence of these two games, we have the Expanse Osiris Reborn, where the devs admitted that they are very inspired by Mass Effect. Obviously, like most of the devs are probably like huge fans of Mass Effect. They've said as much in interviews. Then we have Exodus, that is obviously like a spiritual successor in a way, kind of, at least according to many of us fans. They did state on the on the Q&A yesterday that they obviously take inspiration from Mass Effect. We have Drew Karpyshyn, we have James Oland, we have Chad Robertson, we have Jesse Skye, we have a bunch of like BioWare people that worked, at BioWare during their heyday. So I think this is the right atmosphere. We're in the atmosphere, and if Exodus kicks off and it's a really great game and people are like, oh, this is amazing, I love this game, Mass Effect is then primed, and that's when EA might see, okay, let's get this shit done, because then we have a game that is very similar to Mass Effect, that people and the fandom and gamers relate a lot to Mass Effect because it's very similar. And then we have the Expanse, and let's say that the Expanse is really successful. Then we have sci-fi RPGs like coming out left and right, and that's when Mass Effect is primed to make its comeback. If they can really make Mass Effect that good, because then it's like a small competition, like who takes the throne, which is the best sci-fi RPG of the decade. Because I guess that is going to become like a real discussion at the end of the day, don't you think? That okay, we have the Expanse, Osiris Reborn, then we have Exodus releasing next year. The Expanse game probably releases like in 2027. We don't know yet, but we know that Exodus comes out next year. So we have that, an Expanse 2027, maybe Mass Effect 2028. So in the span of like a decade, we're going to have this discussion of which was the better one, right? It's going to be a huge thing, I promise. It would be the best timing, Get these games out first. EA is like, yeah, okay, this is looking good, if it actually kickstarts the entire, I guess, public discourse surrounding sci-fi RPGs. If it becomes like a bubble like that, right? I'm just saying. You didn't add it to your wish list? Which? The Expanse? Oh, I didn't. Thank you for reminding me. I don't know why I forgot that. I typically never really wishlist anything. I just buy it when it comes out. Expanse is everything. Read the books, dudes. It's far better than the So Excellent series. Really? Really now? That's a high. That's high praise. Lil's what? Welcome in. Question: which studio would you want to buy and develop a Mass Effect IP if hypothetical BW be shut down and IP set for sale? So we've already talked about Larian, right? That would probably be the best idea because I fucking love Sven Vinke. I love the team. They're great people. They understand what they're doing. They're passionate. They love the things that they make. So Larian, but if we think realistically, I don't think Larian is realistic. I would say, and I actually did some research on this the other day. So Xbox is a no-no. I don't trust Xbox. Look at the price increases. Look at everything there. Look at all the studios they've shut down that they've said actually, you know, brought in money. All that shit. Like, I'm not trying to shit on Xbox or Xbox fans here, but let's be frank. Let's be real. Let's actually look at the facts here. Xbox has not been a good platform, especially in the last year or so. So I would never give it to Xbox. Never. PlayStation is probably, and here's the thing, as soon as I say that, Xbox fans are going to be like, oh, you're a PS fanboy, I knew it. No, I know PlayStation can be like jackasses just like Xbox, but lately they haven't been so trigger happy on shutting studios down as much as Xbox has. That has been their main problem, because that is what we have to worry about, is will they instantly shut BioWare down, or shut down the IP, or just put it to rest instead of actually doing something with it. That's where I'm more worried, where Xbox is going to be like, yeah, we're just going to put it on the back burner, whatever, you know, fuck it. Sony, I think, is more like, you know, they want to make cinematic games with, you know, look at their catalog. Essentially, all of them are story-based cinematic games, like they're heavy hitters. We have, you know, God of War, Uncharted, pretty much like all of these games. Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotei, Infamous, I don't know, there's too many to like pop off like from my head. God of War, like all of them are cinematic storytelling games. So I think Mass Effect would be probably safer in their haven, but there's gotta be a better choice. There's gotta be a better choice than either of these guys, right? There's gotta be. I just can't come up with them yet. I just read that Chris L'Etoile, Lorecrafter, Geth, and codex writer of ME1 and 2, is working for Wizards of the Coast. I hope he's involved with Exodus. That would be great. I can actually look him up right now, see what that looks like. See if we can confirm. LinkedIn, right? No, he doesn't have a LinkedIn, so we can't really say, unfortunately. Vulcan, what's up, man? Big mode? Ooh, big mode. What was big mode again? I remember hearing the sound of that before. No, not donkeys. Big mode is not going to be able to buy the Mass Effect IP. Nah, bruh. If Hasbro actually does not interfere with Exodus, I wouldn't mind if they bought BioWare. There's the thing, right? I don't have the longest experience with either Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast, but I do know that they have some shitty history. Especially in the content creation space, they did some really, well, things. You'll have to look that up on your own, but let's just say that people don't trust them very much. And I understand that completely, you know, especially also when you look at the fact that, according to Sven Vinke, like a lot of his contacts at Wizards of the Coast were gone once BG3 came out. And they were like apparently great people, but they were all let go or fired or just, you know, moved to other departments. So, you know, and people are like wondering, and people have been discussing, and that this is just speculation, that maybe Sven Vinke wanted to part ways because he just didn't like the situation he had anymore and the contact he had with both Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. It wouldn't surprise me. But that's speculations. That's not, you know, we don't know if that's true. But yeah, if according to James Olin, right? James Olin, and I'm just gonna, you know, show you again. James Olin. This is the guy who is the director for Exodus. And according to him, I remember in one of their Q&A videos, he said that they essentially said, yeah, do what you want to do. Because he said, yeah, I want full creative control. He didn't want them to mess with his vision of what the game would be. And they were like, yeah, absolutely, sure. So he founded Archetype Entertainment through Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro, because they agreed that they would be hands off, right? So hopefully, if Exodus turns out to be a really great game, and we see that they've been relatively hands off, we get that, more as a confirmation, then maybe, if they can prove that they're hands off and they don't touch like certain game developers when they're like working on the game, they don't try to mess with the game in any way, sure, maybe you're an hour late a little bit, but it's fine, man. It's fine, Vulcan. Peter Parker, welcome. Spider-Man, thank you for the $2. Appreciate it. Been playing BG1, and man, I miss old BioWare. I think a lot of people do. A lot of people do. Which, isn't really that surprising. I mean, they've been on a downward slope for quite a while. Doesn't mean that it's impossible for them to make a good game. They could very well make something great. Corpo's being hands off was not on my bingo book today. It's not really for me either, to be completely fair with you. But they would have to be. Very much, because that is always the problem, is when you have, sometimes I guess, in certain cases, there's been like discussion going on where people have said that, EA had to interfere sometimes because BioWare wasn't getting anything done. I guess if you look at it that way, then maybe, sometimes maybe it's necessary to interfere because your studio is just, clowning around. But we don't really, as far as I know, there's no confirmation that that was like true, that they were just, not getting anything done. Generally, the narrative has always been that EA is always the one who's trying to, do this, especially the whole thing regarding microtransactions and how they had to move around people during development for Dragon Age. And then, the Anthem situation and everything like that, and the Mass Effect Andromeda situation. And it's like, EA does try to mess a little bit too much sometimes, or well, they did. I don't know how they are now. The real BioWare magic was the atmosphere and mature writing they had from 2008 and before. I do miss the mature writing, for sure. The very grown-up writing. Daniel Doherty, thank you so much for the support, man. Appreciate it. And welcome to the Ensven squad. Much love to you, man. Enjoy the emotes. Being hands-off was Microsoft's mistake with Perfect Dark. All they got was fake vertical slices. Sometimes if you're spending millions, you need to keep an eye on it. Yeah, for sure. It's not like, if you buy like a franchise or an IP, I don't think it's a good idea to just completely forget about it and be like, yeah, okay, you guys do your own thing. Because you obviously have to have meetings to see how the game is proceeding. You need to see that something is actually happening. Yeah, I don't believe just, dropping, not having a watchful eye. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is like, as long as you see that the game is proceeding and that things are happening, then let them be. As long as you can see that the game is getting made and they're doing stuff and they're progressing, let them be. It's all about balance, really. Multiple rewritings have been the death of BioWare. Yeah. It's all about the writing, man. Hey, if Expanse turns out to be good, I would be happy with Owlcat getting the Mass Effect IP. Owlcat, as much as I would, yes, just like Larian, sure, absolutely. But I don't know, man. That would probably not happen. I would, I would love for it to happen, but again, and then again, it's the same situation I talked about before. Like, do we want to force them to make a game maybe that they're not really wanting to make? I think as much as they're inspired by Mass Effect, right? They obviously want to make an Expanse game. And one thing I've noticed with the Expanse is that this universe is so very heavy on choices and living with your choices. I think it's probably one of the best portrayals of gray, the grayness of reality, of realistic depictions of if you do this one thing, this many people will die. But if you don't do this thing, your squad mates will die, like your friends. So it's like, oh shit, what do you do, right? There's no real right or wrong answer, because the people you love are gonna get sacrificed, or people you don't love, but there's so many more. It's like what's it called? The lever thing, the lever test or whatever. The tram test. Who are you gonna let the thing run over? I think the Expanse does really well with that. I would trust Archetype more than anyone. We'll see. They're a newly founded studio. We still don't know. They haven't proven themselves yet. That seems to be a constant in BioWare's downfall, which is very sad. Similar thing also happened in production of Battlefield 2042. Yeah, I've heard a lot of shit about Battlefield 2042. I never played it, though. That's the one Battlefield I did not play. If Obsidian wasn't Xbox, they'd be best. They make amazing games as long as it's in someone else's universe. See also KOTOR and New Vegas. Oh! I mean, again, we're gonna have to see with this new game, Outer Worlds 2, right? We're gonna have to see. The trolley problem, rice. Right, thank you. My face is so tired with fighting people about the original trilogy, but ME123 will always be my all-time fave. Next to Metroid games, high five for Owlcat and Archetype for taking this chance. For sure. Like, I don't think I've been this pumped for releases since we got the original reveal for Mass Effect in 2020. The more we find out about Exodus and the Expanse, we haven't found out anything new since the reveal for the Expanse. But Exodus, we're starting to get more and more stuff. And man, I gotta say, like, it's one of those things where you're like, oh man, I feel like I'm starting to feel like, yeah, this could be the moment, you fall in love with sci-fi RPGs again. It's like a similar feeling to when you first saw the Mass Effect trailer. It's kind of the same feeling. It's like, oh, a little bit of nostalgia just because it's similar, but also because it looks so unique. And it's not necessarily that it's specifically a similar game. I think it's just because this is the type of game I like. I love sci-fi. It's my favorite setting, sci-fi. It's always been. I love fantasy too, but like I kind of had enough of dragons. I'm kind of sick and tired of dragons and just fantasy and medieval stuff. I want sci-fi. I want alien stuff. I want to explore the galaxy. I want to explore the universe. I love the stars. I love everything that has to do with space. I watched the first Alien movie so many times when I was like 5 years old. I shit you not. I should not have been watching that, but I stole my dad's cassette tape and I just kept watching it. It wasn't a good idea, but God, I loved Alien so much. So it's like sci-fi has so much potential, you know? It is so, and to me, it's so much more believable. I can put myself in a universe that is sci-fi much easier than I can do with fantasy, because with sci-fi, it's like a exploration of possibilities. What can you do, you know? Can you travel through wormholes? What happens when you go into a black hole? Are there materials that can, like we see here with June in the trailer, like shape according to your whims and wishes? Is it possible we're gonna see fucking, you know, bears being awakened and uplifted, being like battle tanks in the future? Yes. And now I sound like the aliens guy, but you know, it's just endless possibility, I guess, in a way. Mass Effect is kind of like sci-fi fantasy because there's stuff there that we just know that's not how it works. But Exodus, I mean, time dilation, a bunch of scientific mumbo jumbo that actually makes sense. Fuck yeah, let's go. Let's go. The Expanse, very realistic depiction of like the inner workings of politics across the, you know, the system. Gravity, choices, like a reality. It's just, I don't know, it's so cool. Also, alien encounters. I think they do handle aliens in The Expanse really well. It's why Mass Effect caught me so strongly when I played MA2 for the first time. Yeah. It's beautiful. Space and future. Cyberpunk 2077, you know, as much as it's a dark, abysmal fucking future, it's interesting. It is like a possibility, you know? If things go off the rails and everybody starts like installing a bunch of cyborg shit, we're gonna end up in Cyberpunk 2077, and there's just gonna be sex everywhere. Because money, you know, it's such a, also like Cyberpunk is such an excellently written universe because it makes so much sense. You know, if you just think logically, is this possible? Yes, this might happen. This shit could happen in the future. That's why I love sci-fi. It's a genre of possibility, and for endless storytelling, really. Fantasy, you have to really think really hard to come up with like interesting things and interesting ideas and stories. A lot of time it's about dragons, and I love dragons, but I'm fucking tired of dragons. I prefer dinosaurs, to be honest. The Expanse is hard sci-fi, very realistic. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely something that I love about it as well. And it's not afraid of handling big things happening. You know, it does. The first when I started watching The Expanse, I remember a few years ago I started watching it and I was like, what is this boring political ba 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 ba? You know, I knew that Tally's aunt was in it and yada yada, but I was just not interested because nothing really was happening, and I kind of got annoyed by their, like, you know, the Belters Creole accent. Now I fucking love it. And it's because you get more in-depth knowledge and understanding of them as a people and so on, back and forth. And but it's like the universe of The Expanse is so believable just because partly it is hard sci-fi, but it's also so cool because it's like, oh, there's so many big things that happen and things that James Holden have to handle, and the characters are so cool and well written. What's his name? Why do I keep forgetting his name? The guy who's like he's not a psychopath, but he's like a what's it called? He's a the guy, you know, the guy, guys, you know, Amos. Fucking, why do I keep forgetting his name? Amos. Amos is the fucking coolest. God, I love him so much. He is so fucking badass. Like, he is the penultimate badass ever. He's so cool. Amos is Garrus, but with hardcore mind. Sociopath. Yeah, he's kind of like a sociopath, right? Trauma and violence. Because when you first see him, like he looks like a generic guy. I'm gonna be real with you. When you first see him, you're like, who is this generic dude? He's just a whatever, you know. But he's so cold when you introduced him in this show, and he's like so, you know, he brutally fucking, he doesn't just kick people's asses, he like literally executes people left and right, and he doesn't move a facial muscle. Like, he has one of the best portrayals of somebody who is deeply scarred emotionally. Like, he's fucking ruined because he doesn't he doesn't connect with the fact that he's literally just offing people left and right, and it's horrible, but it's also really fucking cool. And it's just, I just fell in love with his character. For some reason, I keep forgetting his name. Amos. He's so cool. God, I hope we get to meet him. No. Yes. Have I watched no, I think I missed a couple of episodes. Or maybe I missed the last season. I don't remember. Well, maybe I have a few episodes left to watch. But God damn it. We need to have him in the game, man. He's so cool. Right, wait, no, yeah, exactly. The game, the Expanse game, plays out during the events of Season 1 and 2. So, encountering Amos wouldn't actually be against the possibility. That could be really cool. I like the main protagonist, but I prefer Amos. Now that I think about it, when you say Amos, it sounds like you're saying anus. Somebody's definitely gonna comment that after the stream is done. Christy Dolmer, welcome, man. I love that the Expanse doesn't stick to its status quo. Every few seasons, the state of the world is permanently shifted. It really raises the stakes on things. Because things don't have to reset for the next plot arc. Yeah, I think they do that really well as well, you know, moving from one thing to the other. I was actually pretty amazed with where it went, you know, because I thought it was like, oh, it's mostly just political, you know, situations across the solar system. But then it's like, whoa, what? There's so many cool things that happen. It's like, oh God, yes, this is what I wanted. Avasarala is one of the best characters. Right, yeah, Christy, right. Tally's aunt. Yeah, I like her as well. She grows on you as you keep watching the show. Christian. After a while, I actually started noticing with myself. Right, Shori Agdashlu. As I kept watching the show, and you know, as she grew more and more like what do you call it? She got very foul-mouthed after a while, and I was like, damn, MILF. Was I the only one that did that? I was like, damn, Tally's aunt, damn. I'm probably I'm not the only one. The game will have the Cant crew in it doing their thing to an extent. If we get to interact with the Rossi, that would be awesome. Yeah. I would love if that happened. You're just late to the party? Yeah, okay, I guess I am late to the party. That's good, though. It's good. It's good. Okay, that's good to know, because I was like, oh, am I, you know, why am I attracted to this? I don't want to call her old lady, but I mean, technically. Jesus, Christian, no. Don't say stuff like that. Up. Tally's aunt does have quite the voice. She does, yes. It's a little bit too powerful at times. It's very recognizable, though. You don't hear anybody sounding like her. She has a very specific voice. So it's like, whenever you hear her and you don't see her face, you're like, oh, that's her. Every time. What is Exodus? Exodus is this game. This is a game that is very similar to. So I'm guessing people are dropping in that are Mass Effect fans that are like, oh, what's Exodus? Or maybe you're an Expanse fan and you're like, oh, what's Exodus? Sci-fi RPG, man. Just like Mass Effect, just like the Expanse. This is the game that is coming out first, I bet. I don't think the Expanse comes out next year. Exodus is the game coming out next year that is made by partly BioWare veterans, partly by a bunch of other veterans from other studios. They've got quite the team. Quite the team. I'm so lost. Now you aren't, okay? Well, I hope. Did that clarify anything? Let me know. Exodus is the spiritual successor of ME. Kind of. I say that it is. It's not necessarily, but when you look at it and when you look at the people involved, you can say that it's kind of the spiritual successor to Mass Effect. It's the thing that people are like expecting most to be like, yeah, you know, this is the thing, that I'm looking forward to the most right now. Are you referring to Tally's aunt? This is Tally's aunt. Yes. This woman right here. She has a role in The Expanse, and it's pretty good, pretty memorable. She's 73, lads. Age is but a number. Drew Karpyshyn, the main Mass Effect writer, is in the Exodus team, right? So if you're a fan of Mass Effect, just know that Exodus is being written by the same guy. Well, technically, you could say that he writes most possibly of when he's the lead writer, like he writes most of the narrative, but I would say that James Olin is probably the one who like came up with the, this is the universe I want to make. He laid the groundworks, but then Drew Karpyshyn is the one who writes what happens. Language you? Yes, true. I'm not gonna say that out loud, but that's true. I'm worried that June will feel like playing Ryder. Nah. First of all, I have to remind you, Zenvolin, this is not Mass Effect. You cannot have the same expectations for the character, because this is not Shepard. For Andromeda, it was understandable. But okay, it's a two-parter here. First of all, don't expect this to be Shepard. They haven't announced this to be Shepard, because this isn't Shepard. Ryder was partly unproven, not terribly well written, not terribly well interesting, not terribly well animated. Drew Karpyshyn and the people here had nothing to do with Andromeda, okay? And this is not a sequel to Mass Effect. This is its own thing. They have already said kind of who June is, and June is somebody who isn't who doesn't really know about how special they are. And I don't want to spoil too much because there's kind of a lot of background to what makes June special as a character, but they just think that they're this normal, regular ass person, right? That there's nothing special about them. I don't think that they're gonna write June in this way where they're like super comedic, or that they're not serious and they don't know what they're doing. Hopefully they've written June in a way where they're like actually smart characters, like where they can realize a situation or like come up with solutions and kind of act like a commander, I guess. I hope that's what they do, but I don't have that expectation for June, just simply because this isn't Mass Effect. It's just similar to Mass Effect. 73 aged better than wine? Very true. Casey Hudson came up with Mass Effect? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. But when it comes to Exodus, it was James Olin, for sure. I hated writers' dialogue options. They felt so brain dead. Oftentimes, yes. A lot of the problems with Andromeda was its writing, unfortunately. Um, I would be delighted if Casey Hudson was secretly already part of the Exodus team. He's probably not. I know there's also been a lot of discussion surrounding Casey Hudson, so I don't know if that would be the greatest idea to even reveal, because a lot of people blame Casey for a lot of what happened to Mass Effect 3, for what happened to Anthem. There's been a lot of like discussion surrounding him. And so it's like, oh man, I don't know. Maybe, you know, if you could show that, oh yeah, Casey did this thing, and people are like, oh, okay, well, that's good, you know. But at this point, yeah, I don't know, man. There's been a lot of stuff surrounding him. That is a little bit unfortunate, really. Having writer flashbacks, are we? I'm pretty certain it won't be the case. No, pretty certain too. Like it will definitely not be the case. It's just, it's not the same people, guys. I don't want to be like a dickhead about it, but I just gotta say it like it is. It's not the same people in charge. It's not the same people involved. This is an entirely new thing, made by people who, or led by people who made some of the best BioWare games. So Mac Walters also got some heat back in the day. Yes, they did. Both him and Casey got a lot of heat, unfortunately. But like, yeah, there was a lot of factors to it. I couldn't even finish Andromeda. Broke back. I tried to play through Andromeda recently. You guys might remember it didn't go so well. I should probably pick it up just to make that video, you know. Is it worth revisiting Mass Effect Andromeda in 2025? I don't know. Like, maybe if you're a newcomer, then no. I would probably say it's better you start with the Mass Effect trilogy. But if you start with Andromeda, you might not have the same expectation. So maybe, you know, kind of. It's an okay game with the it's an okay game with the combat, and some of the companions are all right, but generally speaking, I don't know, man. Roy King, Mass Effect Andromeda sucks, just skip it, not worth your time. I mean, that's what they say. I wonder what Casey is doing now after Humanoid got shut down. I have no idea. I haven't actually looked into it, but I was really sad that it happened. Let's see here if I can bring this up. Where is this thing? Where's the thing? I had a thing here, guys. Where's the thing? The thing is not here, guys. What happened to the thing? The thing is nowhere to be found. The thing? Hello? I'm trying to find it. I had something here that was related to his project. God damn it. The hell? I can't find it, guys. I can't. No, don't give a newcomer Andromeda. They'd put down their controller and never pick it up again. You'd scare away people from Mass Effect forever. I don't know. Like, a lot of newcomers I've noticed are saying that they actually like Andromeda a lot. But then a lot of those same newcomers then said that then I played the Mass Effect trilogy, and yeah, I get what you mean. It's like, yep, that's what I said. It's a different ball game entirely. Shit, I can't find it. Anyway, I had an image here from his project. You're quite fond of Andromeda, Flippy Ahoy? How dare you have your own opinion? It's not allowed. Did they mention whether you could be bad/evil in Exodus? I really hope you can be. That would be great. I think what you could probably do, I mean, let's say that you're not able to be like completely evil and a complete douchebag. What you could do is, because they seem to be very like specific about the fact that your choices are going to be huge. So if you do want to be a jackass and you want to essentially destroy an entire system by giving them a certain item, because there are, and I'm not going to spoil too much here, there are certain items in Exodus that are so absurd that if they introduce these to the game, like these lore items, and you can like give that to your system to, okay, you guys do whatever you want with this, that could lead, like some of these things could lead to the most horrific situations possible. And so what you could do technically is that if you want to play as a jackass, you could give them this item. Maybe you're not supposed to, but you do it anyway, and so you just want to see people suffer. So you could be evil even if June isn't doing it, you know, as an evil act in the game per se. Like the choice isn't necessarily evil in of itself, but you could role play it because you know that the result is going to be horrifying. So you could do that, right? Do you guys want the spoiler? Because there are a few things that, you know, could... I should shut up because there's some really cool things. N7 needs to have someone meaningful. They need to have something explosive that would impress the audience. Yeah, we gotta talk about that fact again. After the whole EA situation, after everything that has been going on, I would say that, and I know some people are going to disagree with me, and I agree with them somewhat, because a lot of people don't want Shepard back. And a part of me does not want Shepard back as well, because I want a new protagonist. But, guys, let's be real. What do you think would happen if they revealed on N7 Day that Shepard is fucking back? What do you think will happen? I'll give you guys like a minute to answer. What do you think would happen? Give me a real answer here. What do you think would happen? Give me your real takes. Elemental Freak, welcome. What would happen? Not so... Okay, no. Nick, my best friend Nick. I was about to say, it's not so much what you want. What do you think would happen? Okay, guys? I'm not asking whether you want that or not. I'm asking, what do you think would happen? Think logically. What would the reception be? Just simply that. What would happen? Okay, I'm gonna read some responses here. Could you repeat the question? Okay. Because of everything going on with EA, because of how people just generally feel pretty down surrounding BioWare and Mass Effect as a project, and people are worried. What do you think would happen if they were to reveal that Shepard is back in the next game? What would happen? What would be the reaction? Okay. Edgy67 hype. Aventus would say, "Holy shit balls!" That's what's gonna happen. Okay. Pre-orders N78. Big T89. They would cancel the game. What? 42071. World peace. Quintus instant disappointment. Broke back. World War 3 at GameStop. Damn. Retroid insta rage quit. Soulsborne Shepard. Arvo's Kaching would happen. Roy King, I will pre-order ME4 if Shepard is a protagonist. Okay. Zentvolin, yeah, I'd be surprised and disappointed. Okay. Onishiro, rivers flowing with blood, riots in the street, dogs and cats staying together. Whoa, what? Reality, it would be printing money, absolute chaos. I'd be very happy. Money, massive hype and infighting, but lots of news about it. Cop out, total disappointment. I would be afraid. Has BioWare not shown an ability to be true to past characters' personalities? That's actually an interesting take. That's interesting. That's the first response that was like that. Interesting, Drexken. I'm not going to disagree with you. The hype would explode in a good way. Give me Shepard back just for one more story to properly end their legacy. Yeah, I mean, I think we all get that the logical response would be that even if I think some people would be like, oh, come on, let's move on and go to, like a new character. I do think that even if Shepard is just a returning character, not specifically the player character, I mean, sales, I think it would, just for the hype alone, I think would be enough to carry BioWare probably over the finish line to get the game out. I think it's one of those things where if they reveal that, then people are like, oh, okay, I gotta try it now. What are they gonna do with my Shep, man? What's gonna happen? Are they gonna fuck it up? So people are gonna be like, yeah, of course I'm gonna buy it, even if they don't like it. Personally, I would be like, yeah, I would prefer if we had a new character to play. Shepard could return, yes, please, but I want to play, a new character. In either way, I just think people would buy it more. Definitely more. Elemental Freak, I think the reaction would be a mix of good and bad hype. I want a sci-fi game where you don't play as the main character, but you instead play as a support to the main character. Oh, that's interesting. You kind of did that in Inquisition, though, but no, you didn't, because the Inquisitor was actually like the main character of the story there. It was more your previous character that became the side character. Gaming Wolfe, it would be a mixed reception. Some might view it as a reboot, and others would be mad that EA can't come up with something new. You mean BioWare? Yeah, it would probably be a mixed reception, but I still think the hype alone would be like, yeah. I actually asked my girlfriend the other day what she would think if Shepard returned. I've asked her that a couple of times, and she has played through Mass Effect Legendary Edition. And she's more like a casual fan, she's not like a big, massive fan of Mass Effect. She loves Mass Effect somewhat, but she doesn't like replay it. She only replayed the Legendary Edition. And her, like, as a casual fan, she was like, yes, please, bring back Shepard. Because I think a lot of casual fans feel that way, because they are the ones that have most recently made a connection with Shepard. And so I think typically more casual fans are going to be like, yes, please. Then again, you know, maybe I'm wrong on that because there's a lot of older veterans that feel like um, the Mass Effect 3 ending didn't sufficiently satisfy them. Let's just say that. So maybe I'm wrong on that, actually. I would prefer if Bioware said Shep is back and it turns out to be a cameo troll. that would suck, though. Not a cameo troll, man. Sam B Age 4, hello sir, so you have good positive vibes to boost my bad mood? Of course. We're only doing the good shit here, I think, kind of. Mostly, I think it's important that we, like, talk about realistically what's happening. But I don't think it's a good thing to be a Debbie Downer anymore, man. I'm so sick and tired of being a Debbie Downer. I'll admit I have been a bit of a Debbie Downer, but it's, you know, you gotta be realistic sometimes with the situation as it is. But you know, looking at Exodus, looking at the Expanse, everything that is going on in this little bubble of ours called the sci-fi RPG genre, I think it's looking okay. I think it's looking okay. People would refund? Nah. What are you talking about, man? People would buy tons of copies, for sure. For sure. Shepard is back and it's Blasto playing Shepard. That could actually work, Nick. That is not a terrible idea. But we would need both Mark Meer and Jennifer Hale to be able to do the voices. Because you don't want to cut the other one out. Because Mark Meer is the one who played the Hanar in Mass Effect. So, I mean, we would need a cameo from both. Maybe a Hanar with Mark Meer's voice. And then with FemShep, we have another character that she plays, and she, like, does a cameo. I think people were wrong about the Reapers not returning, and I think they will be wrong when they say the new protagonist is the way to go. Maybe. I would love to see the Reapers returning somehow. That would be really cool, but not as villains. No, we're done with that. I want a Reaper pet. I want a sovereign, a personal sovereign to ride and sit at top of and explore the galaxy. And I want a Reaper friend to explore the galaxy together with. And it will protect me as I explore the planets and ask me if I want a milkshake once I return to board it. That is my dream. That is what I want to do. Jennifer Hale doing a Vorcha would be funny. That would be hilarious. What if the entire rest of ME3 was basically just a Blasto movie and Shepard is still recording? What are we doing here, guys? And to fight Edie. Oh, yes. I would explore the galaxy with my Reaper buddy and Edie, who would be my girlfriend. Bruh. Unless they write Shepard as a clone with a Shep AI, they can't reconcile the endings and have to move on. I think they will have to reconcile the ending somehow. I think they're probably... I actually had a thought the other day. Hey, what if they... Hey, here's the thing, right? That I realized. What if they actually just... I'm just gonna change this thing. Why did it disappear? There we go. What if they actually do this thing that's kind of revolutionary, honestly, when you really think about it? And hold on just a moment, guys. But okay, let me describe what I'm trying to say here. What if they just essentially made this game to untangle the mess that the Mass Effect 3 endings created. What if this entire game is about going around and solving all of Shepard's choices throughout Mass Effect 1, 2, 3? Okay? You follow with me here? What if this game is all about fixing the things and getting closure on every single thing, and by constructing the game surrounding Shepard's choices and legacy, it would technically be a game that is about Shepard, but also about this new character going around fixing certain problems that happened, that were still created through Shepard's choices. Not that Shepard created them per se, but they just happened because of this or this or this choice. Like the Krogan genophage, right? If you decide to sabotage the cure, you would have a mission where you unsabotage it or you do something to fix it, you know? Stuff like that. Kind of like a cleanup crew, but not really. That would be a really interesting accomplishment. I think could be super cool, because you get closure from the trilogy. Shepard is technically not in the game, but there's like, it's their legacy that you're dealing with. You have to fix the problems that happened after that legacy ended. And so it's like, that could be really cool. And they could construct the game entirely around that narrative. And I don't even think that's an impossible task. Even if there are a lot of choices, it would just mean that there's like many missions to like take on. A game dedicated in dealing with the aftermath of the trilogy. That does sound promising. I think that could be cool. You could still like create new plot lines and consequences of what happens then. It would give people, hear me out, okay? It would give people a reason to replay the trilogy again, because as we all know, so many people that are like Mass Effect fans replayed the games because they wanted to see what happens if you do this, like what happens if I do that. That's why the compilations about your choices are so popular on YouTube, is because people want to see what happens. And so what if they made an actual sequel in the way where you're actually dealing with these things and actually solving them? Maybe a shitty idea, but it's just something that hit me. I was like, huh, that could actually be cool. Correct. This game retcons the screwed up ending of MA3 by making it the Star Child and ending a dream sequence. Shep wakes up and hits the destroy button and this game continues. I think they've already like said that they're not going to do like a, oh, it was all a dream. Unfortunately, maybe they changed their minds and they're going to do that. Who knows? Let's see. I would really love for them to give Shep an ending that is something more than minor differences between the choices, but also prove your theory as someone who was not really much of a gamer until a few years ago and find Emmy after a friend told me I had to play it. One more story to give an ending fitting of the Shepard. That may be easier to pull off. Imports brings you what you get for quests, but all the various quests are in there, and that opens up the next story for whoever comes next to build off the universe that doesn't start over. Exactly. So then, after you're done with the first game, you can then start building up a story naturally that follows after you tie up these loose ends of Shepard's legacy, I guess. So I guess next theory video, is about this topic. What if we're actually just gonna go around and be the fixer-upper of Shepard's mistakes? Not mistakes, but you tie up the loose ends and you get closure, and you get a reason for new fans to buy the original trilogy, play them again, so that they can play the new game again. Like you just get more of an audience. People want to replay the games. I think, that comes just pretty naturally when you think about it. Man, I'm so smart. They could do a Shepherd returns after a ton of years, but it's eventually revealed to be a Reaper in Shepherd's image, but the Shepherd you play doesn't know that. Very interesting. Very interesting. I do like mine better, though. There were mentions early on that they were going to bridge the gap between the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies. Yeah, some things have pointed to that being the case, that they're gonna somehow bridge Andromeda and the Milky Way. Also something I asked my girlfriend about, and she was like, fuck no. Don't you fucking dare. Because she did not like Andromeda. She was like, no, leave that there. Leave that shit over there. Make a video about your theory. I think I will. I just have to remember like what the idea specifically is. And again, to repeat myself, it's, you know, this idea that you tie up the loose ends and you construct the entire game and the narrative surrounding that. I think that could work, because then you get this touch of Shepherd, this element of Shepherd, but you're still playing as a new character. I mean, listen, Sam but Shepherd yelling at you and roasting you for your insufficient combat all game long. I don't think Shepherd would do that, though. Maybe a little bit, like, playfully, but that could be cool. I'd love to have like a Shepherd Sam in my head. That would be fine. I would be okay with that. I'm kind of with your girlfriend on Andromeda. I loved Emmy, but Andromeda felt less mature to me, and I had a hard time connecting with the characters the same way. Yeah. I just, you know, I just find myself having a real difficult time, like, playing through it whenever I do. I think it's because I've played it a couple of times, and I think it's at the point where I feel like, okay, you know, I think I've explored what I want out of Andromeda. So, yeah. It sounds like something Johnny Silverhand would do. Oh, imagine Shepherd being like Johnny Silverhand, just telling you in your head, like telling you in your face what you're doing. That could be pretty cool. Pretty cool. Erwin Condish with the $10. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Much love to you. I can't believe I caught you live finally. You're my #1 Exodus source. I appreciate your content. Thank you so much. God damn it. This is the first time somebody says, I appreciate your Exodus comment. It's always Mass Effect here. It's always Mass Effect there. It's always Baldur's Gate. Never Exodus. But now, finally, we have an Exodus appreciator, or Exodus content appreciator. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Again, guys, if you have missed it, I mentioned it at the start of the stream, but I have an exclusive video out right now on my Patreon where I go over some lore in Exodus. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I would highly suggest you do so. This is what it looks like. I'm sorry, I gotta sell myself out a little bit here. I have to, guys. Don't be angry at me. This is what it is to be a YouTuber. Here you go. There's the link. The link is in the chat. Go check it out if you're interested. Go watch it. But again, it's for members only. Wink. Octopus, how you doing, man? Welcome. Vulcan says, we do love your Exodus content. Personally, love those videos. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm really happy to hear that. I appreciate your Expanse content. Thank you, Retroid. I will cover the Expanse more, too. I promise. But we need more info, really, I think. Right now, we have like a single trailer, really, to look at. We have some commentary, but it's still the same footage, so there's really nothing like super new. But I will break Exodus down the more we get to learn about it, for sure. Don't worry about it. All right, let's give Mr. Olton a pat on the back. He clearly needs it. Good job with X. Thanks, Arvos. Appreciate it. Will Exodus be available on Xbox? Yeah, let's see. Yes. There we go. PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, Epic Games. It's actually, you can wishlist it. So, If you haven't done so already, go and do it. I think, yeah, wish list. There we go. You can wish list. Very nice. And yeah, it's coming out to current generation console, so no worries there. You're gonna be able to play it. Very nice, very nice. Just not GOG. Maybe not yet, but it will probably be there. Again, reminder, Exodus is gonna be a PG-18 game, guys. We're in for some sex. Hopefully. A lot of violence, very adult themes, a lot of swearing. This is the shit we want. Let's go. Let's go. No GOG is sad for me. It will probably be out on GOG at some point. At some point. It's an odd dichotomy. Expanse you can pre-order, but we have less info aside from the series it's based on, while we can barely wishlist Exodus and we have so much info on it in many ways. I think that that's because the Expanse, I think Owlcat wants to kind of crowdfund the thing, which is why we can sort of pre-order it. I think the difference is that Exodus is bankrolled by Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. They have money. They have a lot of money. So I think, you know, that's probably the reason why. I think, generally speaking, Owlcats probably, you know, they've opened pre-orders partly because they kind of need the money. I'm just gonna guess that's the reason. Halt Cult would make a fun t-shirt. It would. It would. It would be a pretty nice, sweet t-shirt for sure. But Hasbro is also stupid. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they are. Again, I don't have the longest history with them. I've just heard bits and pieces and rumors, and that specific Wizards of the Coast story a couple of years ago. Exodus needs more hype, and the Expanse is a plethora of lore already. We need more from both of them, honestly. But yeah, for sure, Exodus, we just need more, because that's the new fresh thing. It's the new kid on the block, really. So, yeah, we need more Exodus. But we're probably going to get a trailer on the Game Awards, I'm guessing here. But they did say on the Q&A that there is more to come this year, and there's only 2 months left. So Game Awards, like, it's got to be the Game Awards. Again, like, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are bankrolling them, so, you know, they can just buy a slot. It's no money to them, because apparently the Game Awards are really expensive to show trailers on. So, but hey, you know, it's fine. It's fine. I think that's something else I want to bring up. I think Exodus, because this is not just a video game, they're trying to build like a franchise out of this. I think this is Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro building up a sci-fi version of a D&D for real. I think this is the thing they're trying to do. They're trying to make their mark, just as Dungeons and Dragons is a fantasy series, a fantasy franchise kind of. Exodus is going to be their prime sci-fi thing. So that's why I think they're going to push this really, really hard. Just looking at it already, looking at the people behind it, I think it's looking good. I think it's looking good. Hopefully they just, you know, let the Archetype team do their thing. Owlcat is good with crowdfunding. Yeah, for sure. It seems like that's the case. Damn, I won't be able to play it because I have an Xbox One and it's not available on cloud gaming nor Xbox Play Anywhere. I don't know. I mean, the cheapest way would probably to get the Series X or a PlayStation 5. PC maybe, but that might be too expensive because, I mean, PCs are like, what is it, like 10 times more expensive than a console. I do prefer PC myself, but I sometimes wonder why I spend so much money on mine. Because even if I have like a really powerful PC, it doesn't necessarily help if the game itself is like shittily, like if it has shitty optimization. It doesn't matter how powerful your PC is like by then. I think they mentioned Exodus is going to be a trilogy like Mass Effect. Have they said that? I don't know if they've said how many games they're going to make, but they definitely want to make this a thing. Not just one-time thing, but a thing. What are the odds of Exodus or Expanse turning into trilogies? I think Exodus for sure. Yeah, definitely has a chance to turning into like a trilogy, because the universe, the scale of everything is just so huge. There's so much going on already. Well, that's not true. You can build PC with the same specs as a PS5 for the same price. It's only more expensive if you want more. Also kind of dependent on where you live. I don't think that I could get a PC that is as strong. Well, maybe I could now. Yeah, okay, that's a good correction, because when the PS5 first released, I don't think I could get a PC for the same price that is as powerful. But now I could probably build a PC for the same price as the PlayStation 5 cost, you know, when it released. So yeah, that's true. It's probably possible today. And then when, you know, the PlayStation 6 releases, I'm probably gonna have to wait a couple of years, and then I can, like, you know, get it for the same price. I think both will. Yeah, I don't know about like Owlcat, because again, they are self-published, so maybe they're gonna want to move on to another game after they're done with this. But I think when it comes to like cinematic RPGs like this, I generally think it's a good idea to try to make it a series. But it also depends on the scales, like how is the story built up? Are they going to expand on what happens in the show or in the books, and so on? And I guess, you know, they do have the material to do stuff like that. Exodus, I feel, is like the prime candidate to turn into a series of games, because it is simply so fucking big. Like the universe, the lore is already so deep. There's already books. It just has so much material already that makes sense, and that, you know, works so well together, that I think Exodus makes most sense. I would definitely say, yeah, trilogy is probably pretty likely, or more. You know, maybe it's a quadrology. Now the only thing we can do is wait and watch. Yeah, absolutely. There's not much else we can do, but just, you know, talk about it and chill. I'm gonna be off for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. My voice is getting really hoarse again. Just gonna do a quick little shout out again to my little Patreon. If you haven't been there yet, go ahead, become a supporting member. The idea is that it goes back into me hiring an editor from time to time, so I can get out better content here on YouTube, more content, so I don't have to like constantly edit my own videos, because that's what I always do. And so, you know, if you want to, I guess, support a good cause, support the channel, and also get exclusive content, then go ahead, go over to Patreon, become a supporter. There we go. Very nice. Thank you, guys. Take care. This has been a nice chat. Have a nice weekend, and I'll see you probably on Monday. Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Mr. Holton signing off.